The channel. Good afternoon. My name is Enk Batorcher. I'm the director of the Southern Mongolian Human Rights Information Center, which is a New York-based human rights organization dedicated to promoting and protecting the rights of the Mongolian people in Southern Mongolia, which is widely known as Inner Mongolia. So today, I would like to talk about the PRC's systematic repression of the rights of the Southern Mongolians and ongoing cultural genocide, as well as the escalating transnational repression of Southern Mongolian exiles and the citizens of the independent country of Mongolia. So the first is systematic repression, officially incorporated into People's Republic of China in 1949. Southern Mongolia is currently home to a population of 6 million. That is twice as large as that of the independent country of Mongolia. Publicly touted as the model autonomy by the Chinese government, Southern Mongolia has always been the de facto testing ground of China's all forms of ethnic policies, including genocide campaign, ethnic cleansing, political purge, economic exploitation, cultural eradication, linguistic assimilation, social marginalization, and resource extraction, you name it. So as early as the 1940s, the Chinese Communist Party had experimented as the first land reform movement in Southern Mongolia, even before the establishment of People's Republic of China. And Mongolian land was effectively confiscated and distributed to the Chinese settlers, and tens of thousands of Southern Mongolians were executed as herd lord. And soon after the founding of the People's Republic of China, at least 20,000 Southern Mongolian elite intellectuals were persecuted as national rightists for demanding the materialization of the national autonomy that the Chinese Communist government promised to the Southern Mongolians. From the late 1960s through the early 1970s, Southern Mongolia had experienced a textbook example of genocide campaign, carefully designed by the Chinese central government, carried out by the People's Liberation Army and the Chinese settlers. Estimated 100,000 Southern Mongolians were tortured to death and 500,000 persecuted. 1/3 of the total population of Southern Mongolia was affected by this unprecedented scale of genocide campaign. In the early 1980s, the Chinese central government accelerated the process of Chinese migration to Southern Mongolia. As a result, in 1981, a large-scale student movement broke out across Southern Mongolia. After the 3-month-long region-wide student protest, the Chinese government cracked down on the students and arrested, detained, and imprisoned student leaders and supporters. In the early 1990s, Southern Mongolian intellectuals established numerous underground organizations protesting Chinese occupation and demanding national freedom. All of them were partially crushed by the Chinese authorities. And for example, in 1995, one such organization, the Southern Mongolian Democratic Alliance, whose goal was to achieve total independence of Southern Mongolia and ultimately to merge with the independent country of Mongolia, was declared as a national separatist organization. And the president and vice president of the organization, Mr. Hada and Mr. Tukshi, were arrested and sentenced to 15 years and 10 years in prison, respectively, on charges of separating the country and engaging in espionage. Nearly 70 other members were arrested, detained, and sent to jail, ranging from 3 months to several years. Since 2020, Mr. Hada and his family members and other former political prisoners are still gone missing. Starting 2001, the People's Republic of China launched a renewed attack on the Mongolian traditional nomadic way of life. Two sets of policies, namely the ecological migration and livestock grazing ban, were introduced to forcibly displace the entire Mongolian herders' population from their ancestral lands to overwhelmingly Chinese-populated urban and agricultural areas. These displaced herders became homeless, jobless, landless on their own land. The Mongolian pastoralist way of life and nomadic civilization were effectively wiped out. Southern Mongolia considered this as a critical step of China's overall cultural genocide in Southern Mongolia. According to the Chinese Central Government State Council announcement published on its website in May 2012, by the end of 2015, China would resettle the remaining nomad population of 1.2 million nomads within the borders of China. This includes mostly Mongolian and Tibetan herders. And this means by the end of 2015, the millennia-old nomadic civilization is officially put to an end in China. So in 2009, the Chinese government announced that Southern Mongolia became China's largest energy base. And Chinese extractive industries, including major state-run mining corporations and thousands of ninja miners, rushed into Southern Mongolia. In May 2011, a region-wide protest broke out in Southern Mongolia, sparked by a brutal killing of a Mongolian herders who defended this land from the coal miners. Tens of thousands of students took to the streets supporting the widespread herders' protests across the region. The Chinese authorities, of course, responded with riot police and military, paramilitary forces to put down the uprising. And hundreds of them were arrested, detained, and imprisoned. So the second, the major issues that I would like to touch upon is the ongoing cultural genocide. As the final step of the China's cultural genocide campaign in June 2020, the Chinese government announced to implement the so-called second generation bilingual education, a new policy for the fresh attack on Mongolian culture. The goal of this policy is to wipe out Mongolian language, culture, and identity and turn Southern Mongolia into a homogeneous, worry-free Chinese society. In response to this, starting late August 2020, the Southern Mongolians carried out a region-wide nonviolent resistance movement. The entire Southern Mongolian populace stood up to the Chinese regime, from the kindergartners to college professors, from ordinary herders to prominent scholars, from party members, even party members to government officials of Mongolian origin, Mongolian ethnicity. They participated. This widespread, protest, and at least 300,000 Mongolian students went on a total school strike, and the Chinese authorities harshly cracked down on the movement, and we estimated that 8,000 to 10,000 Southern Mongolians have been arrested, detained, and placed under house arrest. 11 Southern Mongolians lost their lives in defense of their right of their language and culture. And after this crackdown, starting January 1st, 2021, all government mouth meeting, Chinese government mouth meeting, including the Inner Mongolia radio and television Mongolian language service, have been ordered to start replacing Mongolian cultural programs with the Chinese one in order to promote the so-called the strong sense of the Chinese nationality, common identity, and learn Chinese and become a civilized person has been an official slogan, publicly promoting the Chinese supremacy over Mongolian language, culture, and identity. slogans of, for example, mutual interaction, mutual exchange, and mutual assimilation of all ethnic groups to firmly establish the Chinese nationality, common identity, have been aired repeatedly from TV and radio stations across the region. In schools, Mongolian students are subject to military style of training and propaganda activities. Mongolian college students are forced to wear Mao suits and sing the communist rap songs to extol the greatness of China. And the Mongolian teachers and professors are brought to the Chinese Communist Red Base Yan'an to receive patriotic education. In a move to justify this total elimination of Mongolian language from the entire educational system inside Mongolia, the Chinese National Congress announced that the education in minority language as local legislations stipulated is unconstitutional. According to the Chinese official press, People's Daily. So this overrides the Article 4 of the Constitution of the People's Republic of China that states that all ethnicity have the freedom and right to use and develop their own and spoken and written language, and to preserve or reform their own folk and customs. So local authorities in the autonomous region reacted promptly to implement this directive. Subjects on Mongolian culture and history taught in Mongolian in all schools are considered underemphasizing the Chinese nationality, common identity, and deliberately emphasizing individual ethnic group, ethnic identity, and ethnic sentiment. And they were removed from curriculum across the region. So in an effort to completely block all avenues of learning Mongolian, and on January 9, 2021, the Inner Mongolia Autonomous Region Department of Education issued a document to ban any school from gathering students to offer extracurricular learning courses or teaching new courses in Mongolian. It strictly prohibited the middle and elementary school teachers from organizing and participating in any training organization outside the campus or any paid made-up courses organized by the teachers. So these are just some of the examples of how the Chinese government is trying to wipe out the Mongolian language and culture. I have many examples, but because of the the time, I'm just trying to wrap it up. And then let me just, before I wrap it up, just touch upon the last issue I wanted to really mention, is transnational repression in Mongolia. I'm talking about independent country of Mongolia. China's actually transnational repression of Southern Mongolians started from the day one of the colonial occupation in 1949. As soon as the establishment of the regime, the Chinese government pressures the government of Mongolia to deport back those Southern Mongolian freedom fighters and the independent movement leaders, including the Prince Tumchik Tongro, the iconic figure of the Southern Mongolian independent movement, and the General Li Zhuzhen, and the commander of the Southern Mongolian army. So both of them are deported back to China and then died in house arrest. Hundreds of other Southern Mongolian freedom fighters also deported back. This is just right after the People's Republic of China was established. So this kind of transnational repression is not new to the Mongolians, and we know that there have been widespread discussion about China's secret police station in over. But in Mongolia, it has been happening for many decades. So I just would like to give you the last example of this kind of transnational repression in Mongolia. In 2023. Southern Mongolian, very well-known dissident writer who went to Mongolia and exile, and then he was seeking asylum with the UNHCR, United Nations High Commissioner for Refugee, and then but he was arrested by the Chinese police sent from China to on Mongolian soil. He was arrested in Mongolia and deported back to China. So this is what's happening in not only inside the Mongolia, it's in entire Mongolian region. So the Chinese oppression just doesn't stop in southern Mongolia, Tibet, and East Turkestan. It's also crossing the border and then happening in independent Mongolia. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.